Good evening. Welcome to the Groesio Community Recreation Commission meeting, Thursday, May 26, 2011. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everybody. First thing we got here is the approval of our minutes from April 2011. Any additions, deletions? If so, please move to accept.
I have a couple of corrections.
What do you got for us there?
It's May 24th dinner, but it was also the 41st anniversary, not the 40th. The Senior Olympics is hosted by Melvindale, and the deadline is June the 30th, not March the 30th. And the Senior Alliance Seminar on Medicare is Tuesday, July the 12th at 12 noon, not 2 o'clock.
Maybe you can pass it along to Lee. We can duly note that. And those changes. Any other additions or deletions?
I have a correction.
You have a correction also?
I'm just going to, Helena, your corrections have been made.
Okay.
All right. So with that being said, motion to approve, please.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Ethel, second. And Greg, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Oh, and I screwed up about the minutes here. The agenda. Tonight's agenda. Any additions, deletions, or changes? Otherwise, a motion to approve, please.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Greg. Second. And Ethel, second. And all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. All right, public comment, 3-minute limit on non-agenda items. Anybody from the public want to make a public comment? Non-agenda items. All right. Moving on. Chairperson's report. We're going to have a presentation today. We're going to have a bike path subcommittee presentation. Brian Pollock is going to please come up to the podium. He's going to give us a little bit of, overall view of the Bike Path Subcommittee, where we stand right now, where do you want to go in the future, correct?
Yes, and there's a specific charge, because one of our findings was about creating a Groesio Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Commission or Committee, and I'd like your input on that. So we'll be able to elaborate a little bit more on that. But before I go on, I'd like to also introduce Rob Albright. He's also with the Bike Path Subcommittee, and he'll be doing this presentation as well.
And it was Albright?
So I want to
All right, please begin.
Great. I want to thank you for allowing us to come before you today. Again, we're going to be talking about the Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Commission. Tonight's task is that we want to get your input and thoughts on whether or not there should be an entity to oversee bicycle and pedestrian planning and implementation. If so, should this be a standalone commission or a subcommittee? And if it is going to be a subcommittee, which commission would it be a part of? The outline of the rest of this presentation will be, first of all, why are bicycle and pedestrian amenities important to the island? A little bit of history about bicycle and pedestrian, projects on the island, what we are proposing, and finally, to talk a little bit more about, what you guys think about this. So first of all, why bicycle and pedestrians? Well, we promote ourselves as an oasis of safety, recreation, nature and open space, family activities, essentially the good life. For these reasons, we've been voted as one of CNN's best places to live within the United States. Our peers within Southeast Michigan, including Rochester, Plymouth, Chelsea, I believe, all of them have bicycle and pedestrian facilities as well, and they're actively planning more. In order to remain a viable, attractive community, we feel it's in our best interest to be promoting more planning and implementation of bicycle and pedestrian projects. And these bicycle and pedestrian travel is more than just recreation. It's about providing safe and attractive facilities that can be for transportation routes, empower older adults and children, improve property values, and as well as sale figures for retail establishments. And it also has a traffic calming effect in neighborhoods. with safety, we're not just talking about the children, but they are viable, probably the most important because they don't have a lot of the decision-making ability to, judge gaps within traffic, et cetera. But, we're also providing safety for older adults. If we're not in that category, we might be a jogger, a cyclist, a dog walker. Essentially everybody is out there either walking or biking at some point. A little tidbit about older adults. The AARP is actually a big advocate of walkable and bikeable neighborhoods. They did a survey where they had asked, what do seniors fear most, and it was tied for the first being death and then losing their driver's license. So if we can provide for bicycle and pedestrian facilities that let them get to the doctor, let them be able to just get out and recreate, be able to enjoy themselves, go to the corner store, we can empower these adults and make sure that they can stay in their homes longer. Additionally, there's a correlation between property values and retail sales in walkable, bikeable neighborhoods. And finally, there's also,
Can you go back one more slide, please?
Sure.
When we were talking about the walk score, who does the walk score, Brian?
There's actually a website called walkscore.com. It takes information about different businesses, about land use patterns, how far it is for a person to get to that facility, and it ranks it, gives it an index. There's other indexes out there, but essentially, the message is that generally, where you have more walkable and bikeable facilities, you might have greater retail values. You have property values as well. Realtors can tell you that generally, if you're closer to a bike trail or a community that has sidewalks, generally that's more valued, and people will pay a premium for that. It's like the same thing as open space.
Do you have a walk score on Grosseal or anything like that, or is this? How does this work?
You can go and you can see our walk score. So just go to walkscore.com and you can see that.
All right. Thank you.
Besides actually for providing bicycle and pedestrian amenities, there's also positive benefits to the property owners because when you put in bicycle and pedestrian amenities, it relates to quieter and calmer neighborhoods. There's less automobile noise. There's less speeding within your neighborhood. Because you have less speeds and you're shrinking the size of the road. In some cases, you actually have more room for green space. You have more room for stormwater management, so you might have less water upon your roads. There's all sorts of other things to think about when you're doing bicycle and pedestrian facilities. And finally, it's also great for recreation and exercise. We've got open space, we've got school parks, we've got the farm, we've got great assets across the entire island. We want to make sure that people can get to those without having to drive. And another thing to think about is that every community across the nation that receives federal funds has to be compliant with Americans with Disabilities Act. This includes the township. So when we're talking about bicycle and pedestrian facilities, we want to make sure that they're ADA friendly. And by doing so, we can make sure that we can protect the township against lawsuits. And as schools are the school budgets are shrinking. One of the things that people are cutting is the busing budgets. So if we properly plan for bicycle and pedestrian facilities, we might be able to get more students to walk to school, and that way we can alleviate some of those saving schools money. And I'm going to turn it over to Rob Albright now.
Thank you. Part of our vision here, you can see the young girl with the ice cream cone. This is kind of the study of, allowing the kids to be able to go get an ice cream cone and be able to go to a park or things like that without being on the roads for safety.
I think you can just hit the
There
arrow
we go.
key.
All right.
Is there a pull out at all? Okay, got it.
So part of the reason we're presenting to you is because of the fractured history of planning for bike paths and bicycles and walkways and things like that within the community. The bike path that we have currently, when we started to implement that years ago, there was quite a ruckus about that. I think everybody can realize that today it is a very, very valuable tool for this island and is utilized quite heavily for dog walkers, for bicyclists, joggers, and et cetera. The other thing is the safe routes to schools. That was kind of a big issue not too long ago, and it was kind of fractured because, who owned that, what departments were responsible for that, who did people go to when they had questions about it. There seems to be a lot of issues about that. The Department of Public Safety, the Downtown Development Authority, Planning Commission, Opportunity for Grosse Ile, they all had bits and pieces of things that they want to help with, but no one really owns that per se. And because nobody really owns this idea of the management of the bicycle paths and pedestrian ways, too many chiefs, it's like we all want to be involved, but it's kind of like a side project for all these different commissions, so nobody really takes ownership of it. And without that, you don't have vision, you don't have goals, you don't move forward in a clean and smooth transition for things. The walkways to schools, there was a lot of uproar. Residents really didn't know who to reach out to ask questions and get information on, and that was a big issue for the whole island. And I remember hearing a lot of complaints about that. They would call the township or they would call the board, they'd call the rec. They didn't know where to go with their concerns, and so there was a big issue with that. So the bikes subcommittee, we're trying to identify goals to utilize the existing money we had. There was millages passed in the past to enhance and expand our bicycle paths. So we've been working very diligently to try to get every dollar spent wisely. We've looked at the master recreation plan, and we've been trying to come up with a long-term plan for bicycle paths. This is members of the subcommittee. As you can see, there's just members at large, which are residents of the island. There was representation from the township trustees, the rec department, and Department of Public Safety. So we had quite a variety of people here all trying to help with this. Some of the problems that we had here was the fact that the bylaws basically for the bike path committee said to focus on bike paths. We weren't allowed to really consider sidewalks or foot trails or bike lanes or other things. So we're very limited as to what we could offer for solutions. And that was a problem for us because in some areas the solution may not be a bike path, but that's really all we could look at. So we tried to also focus on areas that would help connect the island. We've got a lot of great assets on the island. Brian mentioned a few, the Centennial Farm and the business district and schools and things like that. And a lot of people want to be along the waterfront. We're trying to find a way to get people to those key points on the island in a safe and fun way. So with that being said, we looked at many different options here that were in the master plan. Here's a picture of the island and several of the different areas that we looked at for expanding the bike path on the island. What we have approved or are preparing to get approved through Wayne County is a bike path from Meridian down to Park Lane on Horse Mill. That is the one area of the island that there has been a pedestrian casualty. A person has died on that area hit by a car. So that was one of our concerns moving forward. One of the nice things that this does, though, is it allows people to utilize and enjoy the open space area because we're going on open space on both sides of Horse Mill. So we're limiting our access to residential areas and causing issues with the residents. It allows them to enjoy the open space areas. We have a safe crosswalk planned at Thoroughfare and then continuing on to Park Lane. So that will expand the bike path approximately another mile on the island and help people who ride along the riverfront connect to the bike path and vice versa. So that's where we are right now, and I'm going to turn it back to Brian.
So, Rob did a great job of explaining, what we've been doing, and basically, the township understands the needs. We've got supervisors and great staff and volunteers that all want to make sure that Grosse Ile stays on the forefront and is a an active community. And most people agree that part of that is going to be bicycle and pedestrian facilities. We know that the bike path subcommittee had constraints that limited what we could do. With the bike path millage denial, there's not going to be any. There's going to be a limited amount of new bike paths that are going to be available because we don't have the funds to do that. Bike paths are some of the most expensive facilities to do. We want to go for some low-hanging fruit So we might be able to look at sidewalks, we might be able to look at bike lanes, we might be able to look at a variety of measures, and it might not even be facilities, it might be education, et cetera. But we're looking for a specific group to head that up. And more, probably the most important part of that is this group would disseminate information and provide communication with the residents. It would be the central location if somebody has a question related to bicycle and pedestrian travel. They could come to us and we could get the answers if we're not the one to actually answer the question. So the call, as we envision it, would be a Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission that would answer, it advise the township on all issues of bicycle and pedestrian travel. It would analyze routes, operations and safety, and make recommendations on various township master plans, ordinances, and capital improvement plans. Coordinate with external agencies on maps and regional path connections. For example, the Downriver Linked Greenways Network. They've, going from Humbug Marsh through the metro parks up I-275 corridor, going all the way into Oakland County. There's plans for a U.S. bike route that will come up from Ohio. And, one of the primary routes it might take is Jefferson. We want to make sure that we're coordinated with whatever that is, so that way we're part of the larger community. And finally, we want to develop education opportunities and public outreach programs on bicycle and pedestrian issues. We make sure that our children and adults are alike, are obeying all the rules of the road if they're biking. They know how to cross the road if they're on foot, and basically make sure that people are safe and make sure they know how to ride, as well as if we can get enough people out there, we can maybe do some fundraising activities and find other sorts of funds besides just tax dollars. So essentially, this agency, it would bring together residents and other agencies and commissions. So the Planning Commission, the Recreation Commission, Public Services, Open Space, DDA, Public Safety, all of these commissions have some sort of aspect of bicycle and pedestrian travel and information and planning. And there's the group, the schools, Safe Routes to School, Opportunity Grow Zeal. They've been pushing for more bicycle amenities. They've been looking at a bicycle rental shop on the island. There's bike clubs. There's neighborhood groups that might want to look at traffic calming measures. Basically, anybody that has an interest, they'd be able to come forward, towards this committee. But, the main goal is to increase communication and, capitalize on, other commissions and agencies' projects, so that way we're saving money. Here's just a partial list of example topics that we could cover: bike paths, lanes, sidewalks, trails, bicycle parking, fundraising, etc. So now, we'd like to, return it back to you to get your inputs and thoughts. Do you like this idea of an entity to oversee bicycle and pedestrian travel? Do you think that would be a standalone commission, or would it be better served as a subcommittee of another commission? If so, which commission? We've been advised, we've taken this presentation to DPS before, and now we're before you tonight because those were some of the two main commissions that people thought, if it was a subcommittee, that it belonged to. And let us know if we're forgetting anybody or any other things that you'd like to add.
All right, thanks, Brian. All right, well, my opinion, bike path is millage money. It should be its own commission. Recreation has a millage, we're a commission. DPS takes millage money, they're a commission. Open Space is its own committee, they take millage money. But I would definitely like to always have recreation partner, with the stuff. I mean, Tim, through our master plan, we always work with DPS and any other community on the island to coordinate different things that we want. But as far as if it's not possible to be your own commission as the board sees fit, and everyone is going to make the ordinance change and so on, I think it still needs to stay underneath DPS unless the money would come to rec. But DPS controls right now the money, so I think, whoever controls the money, they got to have some kind of, foot in there. But anyway, that's my opinion. Anyone else want to say anything?
Thanks for the The information to us early on. It's on, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay. Get my computer out of the way. I had a historical question. The subcommittee was created by the Township Board, right?
Yes.
So, and how long has that subcommittee been in existence?
A little over a year, I believe.
Oh, a little over a year?
2 years. Okay.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to make sure about that because I was concerned about the whole bike path thing, and I'm glad it's going to be on Horse Mill since I live on that road. So that's great. As I'm looking at your report, it does seem as if you are more closely tied through finance and the kinds of things that you would be overseeing, monitoring, to DPS. At the same time, the things you are going to be looking at, the DPS things, are what we do. Okay, and our support has always been, if it connects recreation activities, we'll support it. So I agree with my partner over here, Walt. Walt, that's your name again? Yeah. It's been a long day. That probably DPS is the better place, but I would urge you, perhaps, because they may not feel the same way, that you should follow the advice of creating your own commission. I don't see why that didn't happen right from the get-go. I serve on the Open Space Commission as a liaison from this group. So I would assume we would, if you did become a commission, we would find somebody on this commission to liaison with you.
Exactly.
So I just thank you for the work you've done and brought this whole thing clearly, to my mind anyway, outside of all the rhetoric that we went through a year ago. So thank you.
Any other comments?
I just have
Ethel?
I just have a question. While you're debating who it's going to belong to and who's going to have to take charge, is there some way that you can educate very quickly, because school is going to be out, the young people biking and walking down Macomb Street? Are they to bike on the road or on the sidewalk? And if they're on the sidewalk, how do you explain to them that they have to stop at the crossroads and they also have to check the driveways? It's very dangerous in the summer.
Yeah.
And they really aren't sure where they should be, whether they should be on the sidewalk or on the street.
I mean, I agree with you. There's an educational opportunity out there, and and the way that the laws are written is that a cyclist is allowed to ride in the road as long as they're obeying all traffic rules, and they're allowed to ride on the sidewalk if it's not forbidden by the local ordinance. So they're both allowed. It's just the question is what are they doing, and what are the best practices? Where does that person feel the most comfortable, or in some cases, where does that parent feel that cyclist should be? It depends on your age, your riding ability, and your level of comfort. And that's another reason why we wanted to expand this from just bike paths, because there's all sorts of different facilities. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Not only from the cost perspective, but from the user perspective as well.
On Macomb Street, especially in the summertime, you have a lot of the seniors with their electric wheelchairs on the sidewalk. You also have a lot of walkers with their baby carriages and whatever, and the cyclists are just zooming back and forth, and it's just kind of dangerous.
Leah?
Yes, I just want to piggyback. That was the other point I wanted to make. I recently was on Mackinac Island, and I know how to ride the bicycle. I know what the rules are. Nobody else on the island did the day I was there. They just came at you from both sides of the road. They had no clue, and there are no cars there that you're going to have any danger about, maybe a horse, but, So I think that's a really important issue that you have picked up, that we need to communicate not only to the kids, but to the adults. That their right of way to ride the bicycle has to respect people who don't have the maneuverability that they do, and the situation in which they find themselves.
John?
Yeah. How much space, in order to get ADA approval, how much space do the side, or do the bike paths take on the roads? How much, what's the width of the
bike path has to be 10 foot. So there are areas that, based on certain criteria, it can be narrowed from 10 foot, but the standard path is 10 foot.
And do you expect, what kind of resistance are you going to get to 10 foot of space, say on Horse Mill, going all the way to Park Lane?
He was going on open space property, he said in the presentation.
Yeah, we're on open space property along that, so that was part of the reasoning.
Are you going to be on that side of the road, in other words?
Yeah, we'll be on the south side from Meridian to Thoroughfare, and on the north side from Thoroughfare down to Park Lane. So we're in open space area so people can enjoy the open space. We leave the residents' property alone, and so it was kind of a win-win situation. We felt that way. Regarding back to the earlier question, though, by having this subcommittee, we can look into opportunities to do educational things much more and utilize some of the funds for that. So I think that is a very important thing moving forward to help educate folks how to
we
ride.
do safety time just for little kids, you know what I'm saying? It's not for the teenagers, preteens, stuff like that, as a racing.
Yeah, my kids did the safety town, and that was very, very good. But then after that, there's nothing to reinforce that throughout the community. So signage, continuing education, and things like that would be very helpful. And hopefully we'll get more people out riding the bikes as well as we expand from just what we've got currently to more bike paths and lanes and stuff in the future.
But we will definitely support any decision you guys decide as a sub, as a group anyway, you know what I mean?
Okay.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, thank you. When we did present to the other committee, they basically said that, come to you guys, but they felt that we didn't belong under their ownership. And we talked at that time as to have representation from both you and that committee there as liaisons so that everybody was kept informed as to what was moving and how things were moving forward.
Excuse me, Ferry Road is a very bad intersection for where you're crossing from one side to the other. With going with all of the traffic that goes through there on Meridian. You're going to have that same situation on Horse Mill now?
At Thoroughfare, yeah.
Thoroughfare.
But based on the way the houses are on Thoroughfare, if you know, like the little log cabin is right there. If we were to put a bike path there, we'd pretty much be going through their living room. So that was the reason that we started on the south side, and then we realized that we'd have to eventually cross, so we waited till we got to an intersection to make it as safe as possible.
Yeah, well, that's a little better than the one on Meridian and Ferry.
I agree, that was not well thought at the time.
Well, thank you guys so much. Very nice presentation.
One more thing.
Oh, okay.
The access, or the increased access to the bird sanctuary, or do you have any concerns about that, too, as far as traffic going into there? No.
It's a good thing, isn't it?
I would think it's a good thing. You're going to get people to be exposed to it more by riding through there. And we're right on the fringe of it, so we're not getting too deep into it, but at least they're getting there by a safe route, and hopefully they'll expand into finding more things there to see and do.
Right. These gentlemen are just kind of looking at us, John, where should they go with their subcommittee? Should they turn themselves into a commission?
Okay.
Should they stay underneath DPS? Should they be, staying alone? Should they come to REC? That's what they're kind of looking for us for.
Okay. We'll let them get back on topic.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your evening. All right, moving on. Inline skate park update. Okay, we've been in contact with Joe Palomera, the Wake County Commissioner for us. And as you know, through our 5-year plan, one of the main things that we want to do was the inline skating rink, which would be basically turning our ice rink from a seasonal opportunity to a year-round event, okay? So this would be located, Tim had discussed this, we have Carl Moore on board, and we've been discussing about this. Looks like we're probably going to have to move the volleyball court east towards the basketball court and put the inline skating rink where the volleyball court is. The thought is two advantages, is that we could be utilizing during the winter months or summer months the skating rink close. We'd have close to the outdoor lighting we could put on top of the building to maybe lean to in the winter, shelter for get away from the wind, possibly in the future bathrooms, but we're still hoping to use the rec building for that. The other opportunity would be by moving the volleyball court farther east, that when the kids are sandy and stuff, that they wouldn't drag as much sand into the pools, so they would be knocked off a little bit, because no one, for some reason, ever uses the outdoor showers, so we get a lot of sand in our pools. But to do this, we want to start, can't do the whole thing at once. We want to start with the pad, cement pad, and markings. And then, through community donations, we've already had a group that donated $9,000 plus to the Girls Zero Recreation Department towards this project, and we're hoping to get more. So if you'd like to donate to the inline skating rink at Water's Edge, send your checks to Girls Zero Recreation, and we're going to be putting a big push on this. But any questions about what I'm talking about, or does everyone have a full understanding about what I'm saying? Everyone follow me? All right. So with that, I'd like to propose a motion, approval from the Girls Zero Township Board to permit the Community Recreation Commission to submit a proposal to Wayne County Parks Department for funding consideration through the Wayne County Parks millage. The $50,000 in millage funds would be utilized for the construction of a cement pad and the application of court markings for an inline skate park. Can I have a second, please? Leah. Okay, so any further discussions or questions on this?
That millage, does that come out of Corseal millage?
Wayne County.
Wayne County.
Wayne County.
So Wayne County would be paying for it.
Correct. Right, this would be from the Wayne County Parks millage, so correct, it would be from any other questions, John?
Not right now.
Helena?
That's Wayne County, we get 50,000 from Wayne County, right?
Correct.
Is that going to cover that?
Well, talking with Joe, actually pretty good, because Grozio has not put anything in for the last couple of years, and Joe's well aware of that, whereas other ones went to whatever, to Gibraltar or Huron, stuff like this, and he feels that we're going to be, good shot, but I mean, we won't know until we try.
I mean, has anybody worked up a budget for this? Is 50,000 going to cover it, or we're going to?
The $50,000, I think Tim came up with about $55,000 for the pad.
So your 9 goes in with that 50, right? So you really got 59,000.
Where's the,
You said 9,000 was donated.
right, 9,000 was already donated, correct.
So really your pad's covered with some to go.
Well, we hope to be, because this would be like a matching grant, I believe, Helena,
Oh, okay.
you know what I mean?
Okay.
So we'd get 50 from Wayne County, we'd have to come up with 50.
Correct, that's
Okay.
what, but the whole idea is we want to put this, we got to get this in by July, excuse me, so I want to ask this commission to approve this whole idea.
Okay.
Tim will come back with us before he submits it to the board, so we'll get the full understanding before we give him the go-ahead to give it to it, but we've got to give him the go-ahead to get going.
This is the go-ahead for Tim to put the paperwork together for the millage application.
Correct.
Okay. I go for it.
All right. Any questions from the public? Bringing it back. All those in favor of this motion, please say, what do I say, yay?
Yay.
Yay.
Yay? Yay. All will opposed, say nay. Motion passes. That was very awkward. Okay. Nope, that's all yours. All right. We got director's report. Where's all Tim's good stuff at? All right, I'm going to the podium.
I'm fine. Oh, here. I think we need
All right, we got a couple announcements, mainly from Tim. First off, you guys should be expecting, everyone in the residence should be expecting their channels next week. So that's a little preview of that. Next one is he'd like to announce the Grozio Riverfront Concert Series. That's going to be kicking off on June 9th, and that'll go through the beginning of August. So it's every Thursday, and it's 7 p.m., and it's free, so please join that. Come and see that. The other big announcement is Island Fest. That's Friday, June 3rd, Saturday, June 4th, Sunday, June 5th. Please come down there and enjoy that. And a special note, Tim wanted to say there's going to be an extra special fireworks presentation, so it should be a very, very big one, very nice one. And another one is volunteers for Island Fest. We'd like to ask all Groesville residents to come down and volunteer, give a handout. Yes,
Can you
Craig?
focus that a little bit better?
No. What are you asking me to focus for? Don't they usually do it that in there? Mike, Lauren, can you focus that?
They're eating cookies.
Anyway, it's volunteers.
There we
We
go.
need it for wristbands, the information booth, event setup, and event takedown are the most important things right now, but call the GI Recreation Department, they can, I'm sure, find something for you to do. And
Walt, do you have any information on what each task entails? I mean, I'm putting you on the spot, I know that.
the
but-
wristbands is you sell the dollar wristbands for alcoholic beverages, adult beverages.
Oh, okay.
The information booth, I believe, is the booth just to tell you about the whole Island Fest, right when you walk into the hangar. The event setup and event takedown, that's basically tables, chairs, sweeping up, putting out trash cans and such.
Thank you.
And you're coordinating all this, too.
I volunteer every year for the takedown.
Yes, yeah, you are. Okay, so that takes care of that. Any old business, fellow commissioners? Anything that we have pending? Anyone? None presented? Okay. New business. All right, this evening we did do interviews for the we have one vacancy on the Community Recreation Commission. So we did some interviews today, and I would like to make a motion that the Groesville Community Recreation Commission recommends to the Township Board Ann Magron as the candidate to fill that vacancy. I need a second, please.
I'll second.
And it'll be Helena. All right, any discussion? We had our interviews in private. It was a closed-door study session. That's what we came up with. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes. All right. Moving on to the subcommittee updates. Open Space and Greenways Committee update. Leah, do you have anything new you would like to present? Want me to come back to you? Okay. Bless you.
Thank you.
The Open Space Greenway and Greenways Committee is changing their meeting time and night. It will now be at 7 p.m., and our next meeting is June 14th. It'll be somewhere in this building at 7 p.m. And we're looking at the purchase of property and reviewing 5 different areas at the moment.
All right, thank you. All right, golf committee update. Bill Morrow, he's not here. I don't think there's been too much golf with all this rain. Marina update. Mike Swales, he's absent today also. I just noticed that they've been putting all the boats in the water. They've had their inspections, so we're moving on with that. Centennial Farm. Woodward, you got anything new?
I got a little, not anything new. I can tell you about, I talked with Sandra Bondar.
And you can't talk to me unless you look at the mic there and talking to Mike.
Okay.
Thank you.
I got an update with Sandra Bondar about the Herb Fest, and I also talked on computer with Sue Thornton with Garden Clubs. She's in Italy, Rome, Italy right now. She said, both of them said that it was good. Great big turnout. Parking went way out onto 3rd Street. There were approximately 1,100 people, according to Sue. There was really good camaraderie between the garden clubs the Herb Society and the Children's Garden with the Grosseal Equestrian Club and the Luton's Performance Horses and the Rec Department. The shelter people had a small turnout. Generally, the shelter people sell water and hot dogs and that. People are a little disappointed. They're a little bit in turmoil right now because of the new animal control officer. Sue Thornton wants to make a great big thank you to Tim Rooney, Brian Payette, and Cody Nash for all the help they did. They got all the monies that they needed. They got their whole funding done. Their expenses were covered within the first 45 minutes. They got all their money that they need to fund all their scholarships that they have. So they did well. They said they've got it down pat, so it may not look like there are a lot of people there, but they know how to run it. Tim's fixing everything that we went through before, some drainage problems. He's getting together also with the animal control officer about drainage around the shelter.
The back of the shelter,
Yeah,
right.
there's some problems there. He's getting quotes on things like that, and he's getting that. So that's all happening. That takes a while because of the weather. On the last meeting, there was some talk about, I don't know where to put it, having horses in the parade. This is off from the farm stuff. There are going to be horses in the parade. We were going to drag minis there if we had to. I found some minis, but it looks like we're not going to have to drag the minis there. There's some horses there. The Downriver Horse Lovers Club has some people that are going to ride in it. They're actually going to ride behind the clinic banner, Island Animal Clinic banner, but they got the end of the parade. And I supply the little golf cart that picks up the messes. So that'll stay clean.
That'd be cool.
And then he's going to talk about lacrosse. That's it.
All right, thank you. Airport recreation area? Great.
Giza's soccer season is off and running, even due to the rain. All the players all seem to be enjoying themselves when they are able to play. I think the rain is helping the new football fields down there. And also noon, June 4th, Saturday of Island Fest, lacrosse game will be the alumni. Those are the kids that have gone on to college. They will come back and play the high school varsity team, the high school football field at noon.
Okay. Very good. Senior citizens, Ethel.
Yeah, just a reminder about the seminar that the Grosseal Senior Citizens Club is sponsoring, given by the Senior Alliance. Anyone that's interested at all in Medicare fraud is invited to attend on Tuesday, July the 12th at Centennial Farm. There will be refreshments beginning at 11:15 a.m. and the seminar is at 12 noon. And this another reminder is that the Senior Citizen Club, ages 55 and up, anyone that's interested, we meet on the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month with a social hour at 11:15, meeting at 12 noon. We have occasional programs and other things that go on. And all the announcements are also on the cable TV, Channel 12 with Comcast, and WOW is Channel 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethel. Schools, Conroy.
I have nothing new.
No updates, okay. All right, extended public comment. Anybody like to make anything? Anyone? Anyone? Oh, Sandra. Bueller?
Sandra Bondar, 20594 Canal Drive. And I just wanted to add a little bit about the parade as well. The Grosseal Equestrian Club will be in the parade, and so will Luton's Riding Academy, but we're positioned in the middle, so we'll be in front of you, and we too will have a wagon, and probably we're looking at putting a pony in the wagon with a bunch of kids and stuff, so it should be lots of fun. The Herb Fest was a really good time, and I'd like to thank Luton Riding Academy for having the pony rides and things, because that was a really big hit with all of the kids. He also assisted with, we also put on a show with different riding techniques, different styles of riding, and I think a lot of the folks liked it because during their lunch, they were all moving their chairs and looking at the outside arena, and we gave them a show of costume, a hunter, show hack. We tried saddle seat. We tried to show a bunch of different styles of riding, so a lot of people came over. He also offered lessons as well. Some people came up and wanted a lesson right then. So it was a really nice thing for the grandparents to get out. They could look at the herbs. They gave them something to do, and also gave the kids something to do, too. So it made it very enjoyable. And the weather was terrific, which really helps. And just one last thing to the Lutons. I don't know if you're aware, but he does participate a lot at different functions. Like the Easter event, he was there with the pony rides and the moonwalks. The Azalea Festival, he did go down Macomb with Chad and whatnot. He participates a lot. He participated at Herb Fest. And I just don't want him to...
Don't forget Harvest Fest.
Harvest Fest as well. So I...
Yes, we are aware.
Just
But it's
wanna
good to
say
let
thank you.
public know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. All right. Sandra Bonder. All right. All right, any individual commissioner comments? We probably got everything good? Otherwise, need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Ethel, second. Helena, all those in favor say aye. Motion approved. Good evening, everybody. Have a good night.